Hello, my name's Chris Cox. And I like to draw things, and I'm going to give you an idea of what I do in my sketchbook. So today we're going to be drawing an alien. Great! Apart from that, I don't really have much of a plan, because when I sit down to draw on my sketchbook, which is usually just on the sofa, on an armchair, TV on, that sort of thing, I'm just doodling, I'm just making stuff up, because sketchbooks are good for experimentation. So I'm going to show you what I do when I'm just experimenting. Before I really get going, these pencils are really good. They're used by illustrators and used to be used an awful lot more in animation. They're fantastic pencils, and you can look them up online and get them. They're not particularly cheap, but they are particularly good. And the reason they're used is it just gives, when you're working out how to pose something, ooh, I like this. When you're working out how to pose something, it just glides across the paper. And this is used to rough out your pose, to rough out how the character is going to stand or sit or act or whatever. And you're just working out the shapes and sort of going, kind of just working out things as you go. And I'm not sure where this is going. I think that's the great thing. There's always, you always build up a skeleton or framework of simple shapes, and one day I might cut a video when I've done hundreds of these things of me saying keep it simple and use simple shapes, because it's a fundamental rule. You don't want to add too much detail in straight away. So I'm just roughing out a rough shape to something that I think is quite nice. And what you do with shapes as well is you try not to have things that are too similar. So you have sort of interesting contrast. So that isn't, this part here tapers towards the end. So it starts off wide and goes down. Starts off wide and goes down. You can really accentuate that a bit more, exaggerate it. So I really don't know where this is going. This is fun. I'm just trying to figure out what they should be doing. It's kind of like, I mean, it's slouchy. What's this character like? A bit slouchy, a bit lumbering, a bit big, a bit daft, a bit silly. So we got like a torso here, and we got it's going down thin here. But then we got a head, which is just here. It kind of feels like it needs weird shoulder pads. Okay, wearing weird shoulder pads to really exaggerate those shoulders, and now we got a more dynamic figure. We're going from quite broad to really thin. And kind of the more you can push that generally in design, the better. So if you've got an arm, so you've got the figure here, you've got the inside, you've got an arm, so you could do that. That's not going to be these are equal distance, so that's not going to be a very good picture. We've got a line down here, that's the inside of the arm, so say figure, normal person sort of thing. But then you're going to have a bit of a shoulder. They've got some muscles, they might have a bit there, and then you get to the elbow and it goes down like that. Very simple way of drawing an arm. And that gives visual interest because you've got kind of straightish line, a curvy line, but then you've got more of a bumpy curve there. And that sets off that. Yeah, adds a bit more interest, which is much more appealing than if you had something like that with an arm. So if you notice, if you stop and look at cartoon characters, even Bugs Bunny back in the day, and now Mickey Mouse, and so they'll often have tapers. The arm is thinner around the fist, for example, before it joins the fist, and then it's wider up here. So there you go. So back to this. What am I doing? Good point. What am I doing? I'm just going to start doing a weird expression now. I don't know what this guy is all about. I know he should have some cool eyes. And one thing that's quite good to do with eyes is if you draw eyes, kind of what I like doing is making them a slightly different size. So it just looks weird and a bit more dynamic as well. If they're the same size, that's good for more realistic, more normal characters. But just one side a little bit higher than the other gives a sort of bizarre look. And then if the eyeball is a little bit strange, then that's kind of cool. So this is more like a frog or salamander in a space costume. So I'm going to move his arm up there because I just think he should be holding something. He's like a guard. I think he's going to be an alien guard on a world full of salamanders. How's that? I never expected to be drawing this 20 minutes ago. And he's going to have some weird staff. What should the staff have? So again, I'm just making the lines a little bit wonky. So it's not a perfect cylinder. It's just like it follows through there. Yeah. So whatever his hand is going to be, it's just going to be overlapping there, and then the staff going into the fist and then out again the other side, and then you just follow it like that roughly. So you just line the top and the bottom, and then I don't know what it's got to have some sort of blob on it, hasn't it? Because he's a blob. He's very circular and blobby, so to me that just seems kind of a cool thing to do. Really unbalanced staff. That's kind of cool. Since the technical hitch, I've just amended that a little bit, make it a bit more like a really weird hourglass. Really distorted, it looks a bit more organically flowing if it does that. And then giving him a weird little logo, a space retro logo with some, I just thought, lightning always looks dynamic. And if it's something like that, it just looks ridiculous as well. It's kind of, I don't know why there's lightning, it just appeals to me. And also the sharp shapes of that contrast with the soft shapes of everything else. I am just going to give him a little tongue sticking out because that seems to be what something salamander-ish would happen. Whether that's true or not, no idea, but it just looks cool. It makes him look a bit dumb, which I quite like. It's like a dumb, one of those dumb guards. He's like, bit daft. So I'm just going to give him, he should have better feet than that, I think, but what can we do with his feet? I think we're just going to do strange toes there. And I'm not going to make the toes equal because that's kind of a bit more amusing to me. Oh, the weirdest. I think I'd like to do some feet that are a little bit different, so I might amend that in the final picture. And I'm just going to add pencil to it now. I'm not going to ink it. Now let's ink it. You can tell this is unscripted. I don't know what I'm going to do from 1 minute to the next. So with this, I think if he just has quite like blobs for hands, but I kind of like the idea. He's got some mitten hand thing going on. So he's just got a thumb, bizarre hands, weird. Let's make that wobble a little bit more. I like making things that wobbly. Just makes it look so much cooler to me. And then the wobble there. I'm quite happy with that. Okay, so before I'm just going to adjust the camera before I have any more technical difficulties. No expense spared, right? I'm going to quickly go and ink it. Great thing about inking is don't be tied down too much to the lines you've already made, because it's nice to leave things that are fresh at each part of the process. So room for mistakes and things to develop and for things for you to improve as you go. So not not especially happy with the way that eyeball turned out, to be honest. This one. It will do. I'll just give him a... Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I'm not sure what he's thinking. He'd be a good comical guard, actually. There's some comedy, sci-fi, action, comic, or cartoon. Sort of inept bungling sort. They're around, they're going to cause you a problem, they're in your way, but the hero is always going to find a way of outwitting them or bowling past them. Yeah. Then what's nice is to try and, when you ink, is to try and get the line, if it's a swoopy line, in one big motion. So you sort of have to you have to be open to mistakes, but you're trying to get as smooth a line as possible. But that comes with practice. But to try and get one swoop, then that sort of holds the picture together a bit more, I guess. This just looks like he's wearing some gigantic leotard with massive shoulder pads. Yeah, that's what we like. Bit of shadow there. More shadow behind the arm, because it's going behind the arm, but a little bit there to represent like coming in on top of the arm. I was going to do that to give him like a paddle hand. And then just a basic blob there. So I still like simple character designs. Oh, I did not like the way that went, but we'll live with it. Okay. This was for some comic strip or book. That would be something I amend in Photoshop. Ideally, that line would be a bit thin around there, but we'll keep it. And then thick to thin there, and I'm going to do something weirder with this feet because, ooh, that was a wonky line. That was a wonky line. Gosh, he's getting really wobbly. Okay, and then yeah, I'm just going to keep it simple like those hands, and there you go. Look at that. Smudged my own picture. So not ideal. Again, if I were going to submit this to any art competitions or to any sort of publication, that's something I'd take in Photoshop and I'd just erase, or some graphics editing software, and I'd just erase that. Give him a nice kind of bizarre shape there, and to sort of give a bit of a focal point to the design. You need a good balance between darks and lights, black and white in your designs, especially if they're going to be black and white. So a little bit of black, a little touch of black there can really set off the rest of the design. Now we're just going to do his staff. Now I'm leaning over what I've drawn already, which is perhaps a bit of a mistake, because that's where smudges happen, but we'll go with it. I'll just make his staff a little bit thicker at the ground. It's a bit off shot, but we'll go with it. And then balloon out there. So I'm not going to worry too much if this gigantic thing at the end is not too straight. It looks like it's sitting in a staff, so it's like it could be like some sort of power blaster stick or something that this guard is, could zap the hero with. What I'm going to do is add a nice little shine, and to do that, just do like a little triangle or that sort of effect. And then on the underside, you're going to do what we can do is just a few lines like that, just to give a bit of shade. Doesn't look particularly smooth, that, so Again, I'll tweak that in the computer afterwards if I were going to do much with it. And with this, I think his hat just needs to be set off a little bit. I'm just going to do that. Sort of following the contours of the hat, so if you think of it as an upturned bowl, and I'm just trying to make sure that your eye realises that this is a 3D object, not just a flat semicircle. Okay, what else can he have? I think that's good. He's a salamander-y type character. He's probably a little bit slimy, so I'm going to do that just to give a little bit of shine. His eyebrow is arching over his helmet. So that's just the way I like to draw eyebrows. If they're not confined to the shape of the head, I find that really kind of more expressive. You can sort of break out of the bounds of the head to give expression and more expression to the characters and really push that over the top quality. Makes it more zany. And there we go. So he's got some sort of weapon. He's not afraid to use it. And he's got a staff. I think what I'll do is add a bit of detail on the staff, because I think it just needs a little. There we go. And then for him, what does he need? It's like he needs a belt. He needs a silly belt. So I'm just going to give him a round belt. Like that. Now, I've been watching a cartoon. I've been looking up pictures of a cartoon that I used to enjoy, Batman Beyond. And that's basically the hero's belt. So yes, I'm copying the design, but it's a good design. It adds a bit more interest there. And then it just needs like a bit of something there. And it also adds a little bit of dimension if you have straps. It makes him appear more 3D than a flat 2D character. Okay, and then the last thing to do is I'm just going to put my name down here. And I'm going to call that done. So there you have it. I'm sure there's more that you could do on this character if you really wanted to. It's sometimes difficult to know when to finish because you could just fiddle around with it for ages. But I think I'm happy with that. If I wanted to, I could take it into a computer and add some colour. In future, I might sort of just adjust the hands slightly, that arm. If I'm being ultra critical, I'll definitely sort of look at doing these feet differently because they turn out a bit wobbly. But you know what? Overall, I'm quite happy with that. That's something that I'd have in my sketchbook, and I can always come back to it and use for inspiration in the future. Love to see an action figure of it with those wiggly arms. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. I hope that helps inspire you to draw more in your own sketchbook. If you've got any ideas or anything you'd like me to cover in this sort of video, let me know. Pop it in the comments. In the meantime, if you'd enjoyed it, please click like, please subscribe for more. Typical YouTube stuff, but the more people who like it, then the more people who support, the more I can do. So yeah, see you in the next one. Cheers, take care.